Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another edition of Meditation Monday in our 30-day yoga challenge. So just like during our last Meditation Monday, we'll start off today with a little bit of Dharma talk, so talking just a little bit about some yoga philosophy in digestible little bite-sized pieces that you can apply to your everyday life. After we've done our little Dharma talk, we will settle in for a nice deep meditation. We'll get in a little bit later to things that you might want for your meditation and why, but the only thing you're required to have for today's meditation is a comfortable place to lay down or sit down. If you would like to grab some sensory objects such as a candle, some incense, essential oils, a soft pillow, or any kind of fidgets or texture toys you might have, now could be a great time to grab those. All right, let's start off with our Dharma talk. So for today's Dharma talk, I'd really like to talk about the Eightfold Path in yoga. There are a lot of different cues and little nods to things that I give while teaching yoga that are an homage or a reference to the Eightfold Path. Now, the Eightfold Path in yoga gets really, really complicated, and there are entire books out there written about them, so I'll just give you the very short version today. The Eightfold Path in yoga is basically the 8 different steps that comprise yoga. Yoga was originally Hindu, as a part of the Vedic branch of Hinduism from a long, long time ago. And these 8 branches basically constituted these different elements. So yoga, according to the Eightfold Path, consists of meditation, breath work, movement, and last but not least, moral codes. So out of all 8 limbs on the yogic Eightfold Path, only one of those has anything to do with physical movement or asana. The rest all have to do typically with meditation, sometimes with breathing or a certain kind of meditation, or the first 2, the yamas and niyamas, which are basically moral codes that yogis live by in order to create more love and less suffering in their lives and in the lives of those around them. Now, for today's Dharma talk, I'd really like to talk more about the yamas specifically, and specifically one yama known as Ahimsa. So the ancient language of yoga was called Sanskrit. It's kind of like Latin. It's a dead language. Nobody speaks it anymore, but it is found in a lot of old texts. And this Sanskrit word ahimsa directly translates into non-violence. When I first heard this in my yoga teacher training, my first thought was, great, yeah, I'm not a violent person. I don't get into fights. It's simple, done, check. But I soon found out there was a lot more to ahimsa than just not being physically violent towards other people on a frequent basis. So the yama of ahimsa, nonviolence, let's think about ways that we might create this violence to ourselves in everyday life. Every day that you experience negative thoughts, that you direct negative self-talk towards yourself, that you indulge in these ideas that you are not enough, or that you're not allowed to struggle, or any other negative self-talk, or negative thoughts we have directed towards others. Jealousy, resentment, anger that we refuse to process effectively. All of these things are a violation of ahimsa. They create violence within our minds. And having these kinds of thoughts, the negative self-talk or negative thoughts about other people or situations, this actually starts to push our brain into fight or flight mode, which is associated with the sympathetic nervous system. What this does is tells our brain, time to release some cortisol. We're stressed out. And the more cortisol your body releases, the more you're going to have a lowered immune system and be more susceptible to illness and to injury and to pain levels. So this is how in yoga we talk about the mind-body connection and how everything is connected. The more you're thinking negative things about yourself and others, the more you'll start to feel that physically manifest in your body, until all of a sudden you're getting things like chronic fatigue and migraines and chronic pain. And sometimes some theories and medical research even suggest that autoimmune disorders can come from a cyclical pattern within this. One of my favorite quotes that I think really sums up ahimsa and its effects well comes from ancient philosopher Lao Tzu, who said, "Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habit. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Now, this is not a quote that is strictly bound to yoga. You've likely encountered it before, but yoga does very much align with the belief that it all starts with a singular thought, which compounds into more thoughts, then actions, then manifests into behaviors and relationships until suddenly that one thought is all that we are. And whatever you're experiencing in your mind eventually compounds and expresses itself out fully into your life and the person you choose to be. So let's talk a little bit about how we might use Ahimsa on the yoga mat during our yoga practice specifically. Although, gentle reminder that this philosophy is meant to be practiced on and off the mat, sometimes starting on the mat is a great way to get started and to start learning the concept. So Ahimsa on the yoga mat, often we'll come to a yoga mat or come into a yoga practice or an exercise class and think all kinds of negative things about our bodies. There's often a desire to compare ourselves, either to younger versions of ourselves, maybe different body sizes of ourselves, maybe to someone we saw on social media or another person in class, or just anybody else. But this unfair standard of comparison can create a lot of negativity about how we see ourselves. There's also this idea of expectations when coming to your yoga mat. Allowing yourself to get attached to certain poses like, oh, I'm gonna really nail handstand today, or, oh man, my chaturanga push-ups have been really great. I know I'm just gonna crush them today. Or, man, I'm not feeling so great. I think my backbends are gonna be so crappy today. And just generally the idea of releasing ourselves from all those expectations. Practicing for the joy of practicing, without attaching ourselves to any concept of how the poses will go, how advanced or beginner we were in those poses today, and sort of just embracing the idea that the body is a pathway to freedom and not a roadblock. So next time you're on the mat and you're really frustrated with a pose and find yourself getting attached to the outcome of it or thinking negative things about your body, I challenge you to pause and redirect that. Maybe using a mantra such as challenging poses are an opportunity to grow, or the only thing constant is change. What pose is difficult for me today might be easy for me tomorrow. Or just leaning into the idea of I love my body, I love what it's able to do, and I'm going to keep strengthening it and benefiting my wellness. All right, loves, now that we've finished up with our Dharma talk, it's time for us to enjoy our sensory meditation. So before we start our meditation, if you haven't already done so, think of things that go with all 5 senses and let yourself grab 1, 2, or as many as 5 things to help benefit your practice. Today, I've got with me a stick of incense. I've got a little squishmallow for the sense of touch. Incense, of course, smell, maybe a little bit of sight. I've also got some lavender essential oil, which is, again, smell. And any other things you have, such as, a comfortable pillow to sit on, or a weighted blanket, a fidget toy, even some kind of a cup of tea that's really delicious and calming for you, or anything you might have that will help benefit your sensory connection to the present moment. Feel free to pause, and once you've grabbed all of those things, we'll begin our meditation. I'm going to begin by lighting my stick of incense. If you have any incense or a candle, you might like to light yours now. While I let that start to burn a little bit, I'm also going to take just a few drops of my lavender oil. And I like to rub mine on my temples, sometimes my neck. If you have any kind of oils, as long as they're skin safe, feel free to do that. Or embrace whatever you've brought to your practice today. Now, to help us fully ground into this sensory information and get us relaxed for the meditation, we'll start out with just a little bit of what's called tapping today. Tapping is an evidence-based practice that is known to help stimulate certain parts within the nervous system and help induce calming within the body. So take your 2 fingers, peace fingers on both hands, and start just by tapping around your forehead. Nice light pressure. And then start to tap underneath your eyes. Maybe going up and down through the little crescent shapes under your eyes. Begin to tap onto your cheekbones, onto your nose, onto your upper lip, onto your lips themselves, and onto the chin, and tapping out along the jawline. Tap all the way up to the space just inside and below your ears, and take a few taps there. If you'd like, you can tap the underside of your chin. Tap softly down the line of the neck, outside the throat, and tap onto your collarbones and the space below them. And very slowly make your hands into 2 soft fists, and almost like you're a gorilla, softly tap into your chest. And maybe with your hands together at heart center. See if you notice any places that felt a little bit activated and released. If you don't, that's okay too. Freeing ourselves from that practice and moving on to the next. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Let it go out your mouth. Start to make your way either into a comfortable seat or lying on your back. Take your time to really ground in and get comfortable for the next several minutes. If you're seated upright, I invite you to place your hands somewhere comfortable and take a few shoulder rolls, squeezing shoulders up into the ears, then rolling them back and down. Maybe you slowly tilt your head side to side. If you're laying on your back, I invite you to shimmy your shoulders softly underneath you. Soften your pelvic tilt, maybe resetting your hips if need be. And slowly shaking your head no to relax through the back of the neck. Start to blink your eyes closed or just soften your gaze to your drishti. And take 1 more deep inhale through your nose. Exhale it out your mouth. Begin to draw more awareness into your breath and start to hone in on all the sensory information around you. Breathe in and out through your nose or your mouth. And we'll begin with a sense of touch. Give your fingers a little wiggle. Maybe rubbing them across the floor, fabric, or your skin. Notice the textures and the quality of the textures underneath your hands and fingers. And notice the temperature of the air on the skin of your hands. Then shift your attention into your feet. Give your toes a little wiggle. Maybe point and flex if you have space. Notice the similar or contrasting texture of your feet pressing into floor, carpet, fabric, skin. Compare this texture to the texture underneath your hands. Notice the temperature of the air on your feet. See if they feel a little colder or a little warmer than the hands. Start to notice the feeling of your clothes on your body, your hair. Notice the feeling of your sits bones grounding into the floor or the pillow or the chair beneath you. Notice all the places in your body that make contact with the floor. The feeling of gravity gently anchoring you into this place, keeping you stable and steady. Check in with your breath. If you find you've lost connection to it, regain that connection. Slow, deep, calming breaths. And begin to shift your attention to the sense of smell. If you're burning incense or a candle, or you have oils on, let yourself really take in those scents. If you're not using any of those objects, that's okay. Just notice whatever naturally occurring smells are nearby. Without any added judgment, just noticing what's in your atmosphere right now. If you'd like, you can name any memories or sensations you might have associated with this smell as you breathe. Begin to shift your attention to the sense of sight. If you'd like to keep your eyes closed, you can notice the soft darkness and any shifting lights behind your eyelids. If you'd like to slowly blink your eyes open, you can gaze at your candle with a flame flickering, maybe incense with smoke curling. Just allow yourself to look around at the walls of your space, not adding on any narrative or judgment, just noticing what surrounds you. In the day-to-day, when we often live mindlessly, sometimes we forget about the beauty in the little things near us. What do you see within your space that is beautiful and often missed? If you opened your eyes, blink them back to closed. Let's start to shift our attention into the sense of hearing. Connect with the sound of my voice and the sound of the music playing. Then connect with any other sounds you have around you. Perhaps the sounds of your family within your house or pets, noisy neighbors or traffic, maybe nature sounds. Notice the closer sounds which come louder and the farther away sounds. Maybe you can hear some electrical humming or even a little ringing in your ears. Just notice and breathe. Finally, shift your attention to the sense of taste. If you grabbed any tea or maybe one of your favorite candies, feel free to take a sip or a bite. And if you're like me and you don't have any extra sensory stimulation here, just notice the natural taste within your mouth. Maybe you can taste the dregs of something you ate or drank earlier, toothpaste, or just the general taste of your mouth. Notice how it feels to soften your jawline and let your tongue fall heavy away from the soft palate. Continue to breathe deeply. And if you'd like, you can envision yourself as that eye of the storm, breathing as you notice all the sensory information around you. You're fully attuned and connected with the space and what's going on around you, and yet you are calm and unaffected, choosing where you place your energy. Breathe into the power of being able to notice and choosing to remain unchanged. a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let's end that meditation with a little bit more connection to our own physical bodies. Flip your palms to face upward and press your thumb into each finger one at a time. There are lots of nerve endings within the fingertips and also within the earlobes. If it appeals to you, you can take your pointer finger and thumb and massage out your earlobe, either in addition to or instead of thumb to finger. If you're tapping fingers to thumb, maybe create a forward mantra for yourself. One that I often teach is, peace begins with me. Each time I tap a finger, I come to a different word. Maybe you set a different affirmation for yourself. After a few more taps or reps, meet me again with hands to heart. And slowly start to blink your eyes open if they're still closed. Take one more deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. The light and the goodness in me sees and bows to the light and the goodness in you. Go in peace and see you all again tomorrow for more asana. Namaste.